Good morning, everybody. Today's class is going to be about the concept of the various levels of consciousness, or as it's more commonly known, the various levels of soul, the 5 levels of soul, and the various meditations that go with each different level. I'm assuming the sound is okay, right? Yeah. Okay, so let me begin at the beginning. The Midrashic literature is rabbinic literature which explains various verses right throughout the Tanakh. Tanakh meaning all the books of the Bible, which includes the 5 books of Moses and all the books of the prophets and the writings and so on and so forth. So the Midrash points out that right throughout the Tanakh, right throughout the biblical canon, the soul is referred to in 5 different ways. 5 different ways. Sometimes it's called nefesh, sometimes it's called ruach, sometimes it's called neshama, sometimes chaya, sometimes yechida. Each of these 5 names, each of these 5 words is just translated into English as soul. But Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, the Arizal, the father of modern Kabbalah, points out that this is meant very precisely. When the Torah gives something 5 different names, it's referring to it as essentially 5 different levels, 5 different relationships. I'll give you an example of this. Let's say that a person's name is Chaim. Okay, so that's his name that he would sign his documents with, and his name on his passport, and so on and so forth. But when he speaks to his children don't call him Chaim, they call him Abba or Daddy, whatever, their father. When he speaks to his parent calls him son. They might call him by his first name, but the relationship is a relationship of a son to a parent. To a friend, he's called a friend. Of course, he might use his name, but he's a friend. To an employee, they would call him Mr. whatever his name is, and so on and so forth. And anyway, in other words, each of the different names that a person has each different name indicates a different relationship, a different concept, different idea. So this is what the Arizal says. He says that these 5 names that we find in the Torah are representing different aspects of soul. Now, when we say soul, what do we mean by soul? Essentially, by soul, what we mean is consciousness. Now, if there's consciousness, there's an object of consciousness. There's something that you're conscious of. So there's 5 different levels, therefore, of consciousness. These are called, in the Hebrew, they're called nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. Soon I'll put up a document on the share screen, and I'll show you what it looks like. So again, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. These are the levels of soul from lowest to highest, or the levels of consciousness from lowest to highest. But as I said before, each level of consciousness has something of which it is conscious. There's an object of the consciousness. It's explained in Kabbalah that the object of consciousness of each level of soul, each level of consciousness, is one of the 5 worlds. So in other words, there's a parallel between the levels of consciousness and the 5 worlds. The 5 worlds, again, are called from lowest to highest: Asiya, the lowest world; Yetzira, Bria, Atzilut, and then the highest world is called Adam Kadmon. Now, we've spoken about these before, and you can go back to previous lectures and listen to the recordings there about these. But nevertheless, we'll go over them again briefly to explain what they are in a minute. So there's a parallel, therefore, between the lowest level of soul and the lowest world, the first world, the lowest world. In other words, between Nefesh and Asiya, between Ruach and Yetzira, Neshama and Bria, Chaya and Atzilut, and Yechida and the world of Adam Kadmon. Let me put up a document and let's share that document so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Everybody sees that? Now on the left here, you have the name of the level of soul. Now this is going from highest to lowest. From highest to lowest. Let me just make that a little bit. Okay, there you go. From highest to lowest, Yechida is the highest level of soul, then Chaya, then, look at that, I didn't even write it in. Neshama, and then Ruach, and Nefesh. Okay? So that is the level of soul, or the level of consciousness, and the world that it corresponds to is Adam Kadmon, or Ak. It's known as Adam Kadmon. The world of Atzilut, the world of Bria, the world of Yetzira, and the world of Asiya, corresponding to Nefesh. Is it in my book on Zohar? I believe it is. I haven't looked at it for a while, but I think so. Yes. It should be there. However, here I'm going to explain it in greater detail. Over there, it is only sort of the outline. Yeah, I do explain it there, but not in great depth. And I don't go into the word of Adam Kadmon and Yechida because that is not mentioned in the Zohar. The Zohar only mentions Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and Neshama le-Neshama, the Neshama of the Neshama, the soul of the soul. It only mentions 4 levels, and that the reason for that primarily is that the highest level of soul is essentially it's a given. It's not something that we achieve. It's something we start off with. In fact, let me explain a certain concept that is worth understanding here. The Arizal, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, again, in Sharu HaKodesh, Shar Gigulim, and various other works, other famous Kabbalistic works, explains as follows. He says like this, and it's also in Eitz Chaim: there is a spark of godliness, Ruach Boire, that's what he calls it, a spark of the Creator, enclosed within a spark of the created. A spark of the Creator enclosed within a spark of the created. In other words, he creates the created thing, and in it he invests, so to speak, a spark of himself. That is called the Yechida of the soul, the highest level of soul, Yechida. Y-E-C-H-I-D-A, or A-H if you want at the end. Yechida. Again, corresponding to Adam Kadmon. Now, once that creation exists, in other words, that spark of the Creator within the created, all the other levels of soul stem from there in a process of descent down from the highest level of soul down to the lowest level of soul. So the highest level of soul is already given. That's your existence. That's your essence. It's the essence of who you are. Now that essence is not something that you have to create. It's there. It was created already. It's who you are. And so the Zohar, therefore, doesn't really talk so much about that level of Yechida, because it's not really, it doesn't pertain to any particular type of work that we have to do. There's nothing that essentially has to be done in order for Yechida to become manifested. It's manifested, but in a hidden way. It's manifested in a way that we don't necessarily realize. So the Zohar doesn't really speak about it that much, but it is spoken about a lot in Hasidic teachings. Now, since there is a descent of the soul down below, until we get to the lowest level of soul, the process of ascent after the descent is really what meditation is all about. To rise up through various levels of consciousness until one comes to the essential consciousness, the consciousness of God. Now, let me explain it in somewhat greater detail. What is the level of Yechida? What is Yechida all about? Yechida, as I said before, is the essence of a person, to the extent that there is absolutely at that place and that level of consciousness, there is only consciousness of God. That's all there is. The consciousness is the consciousness of the Creator within us, the Almighty within the person's soul. So there's no idea, therefore, of ego at all. There's no self. The self is completely and totally nullified. All one experiences is absolute oneness. That's why it's called Yechida. Yechida is from the word Yachid, meaning one, but not one after which comes 2 and 3 and 4, but one in the form of absolute unity. In absolute unity, you can't say that it's not divisible. You can't say there's one and another one. There's only one. There's only one thing. That's all there is. In other words, it's the presence of God, and that's all there is. There's no ego, there's no self, there's no separation at all. That's called total self-nullification, or if you want to put it in Kabbalistic terminology, that's called bitul b'metziut. That the person's existence is completely nullified. He doesn't exist anymore. He doesn't exist anymore as a separate entity. One could compare this to the idea of a person, let's say, thinking about something. When a person is thinking about something, that thinking, so to speak, that thinking is an action. It's not an object. The act of thinking, it's an action, not an object. So too, the essence of soul is the action of the divine, of the Almighty, of God, bringing, how shall I say it, bringing himself into manifestation as a spark of created. But it's all completely one. Just as your process of thinking is not something that can be abstracted and taken out and put in a bottle and put up on the shelf, you're doing it. It's not something that, it's not a noun, it's a verb. So too, Yechida is essentially not a noun, it's a verb. It's God doing something. That can be uncovered and is uncovered through, on occasion, it can be uncovered through what is known as Mesirut Nefesh, complete self-sacrifice, on occasions that demand it. I don't want to go into that right now because it's not really part of what we're understanding right now. It's something that doesn't happen as a type of service per se, but it's something that happens as a result of circumstances. Okay, so again, Yechida Shebenefesh, the highest level of soul, the highest level of consciousness is God consciousness, and essentially you could say that it's not something that we possess, it's something that we are. It's a doing, it's an action, it's an activity. Yechida is the highest level of soul. Going down a level to the level of Chaya. Chaya actually means life force. That's what it means. But it doesn't mean life force in the sense of life force of the body. It's the essential life force. It's that part of a person that that remains after death. That's the life after life that remains. The modus operandi, so to speak, of the level of Chaya, which corresponds to the world of Atzilut. Again, the world of Atzilut is a world of emanation. It's a world of oneness, but not in the same way as Adam Kadmon. Adam Kadmon is a primordial, infinite meta world. It's a meta world, as opposed to the world of Atzilut, which is called the world of emanation. Something is emanating. In other words, there's a certain spiritual structure over there, but not structure in the usual sense of the word. It's a spiritual structure in the sense that even though it's infinite, they already, in the world of Atzilut, they already reveal the concept of Sefirot. Only what the Sefirot, each Sefirah in the world of Atzilut, Sefirah is a manifestation of godliness. It's a godly power, so to speak, a Sefirah. Each one is infinite in and of itself, but each Sefirah is nevertheless different from the other one. There's no complete unity anymore as there was in the world of Adam Kadmon. Let me give you an example that can perhaps explain the difference between Atzilut and the world of Adam Kadmon. If you think of a library, the library, the building, contains all of the books that the library contains. Everything is included in the library. All the books, whether it's books about science, or books about mathematics, or books about social history, or languages, or whatever it may happen to be, all of the books are contained within this concept library. All you know about library is that it's books, but you don't know anything about the particular books. When you go to the library catalog, so you'll have a look through the catalog and you'll see over there that there's the books are divided into sort of subcategories. Let's say, again, like we said before, there's physics, there's mathematics, there's sociology, and there's psychology, languages, and so on and so forth. All the various subdivisions that you'll find in a library. That sort of subdivision, the library itself would correspond in a sense to Adam Kadmon. It's a meta world. It's a container for everything, so to speak. It blankets, envelops everything. That's the world of Adam Kadmon, and that's the level of soul called Yechida. It includes everything that a person is. But the world of Atzilut is already divided up a little bit more. It's divided in the sense of having these major categories. So if I'm talking about, let's say, psychology, books on psychology, and books on mathematics, these are different divisions, but I don't know anything about the actual books that are contained in the library yet. So we go down a world to the world of Bria. The world of Bria is called the world of creation, the world of coming into being, essentially. The world of creation, the world of being. And that corresponds to the level of neshama. So what happens in the world of Bria? The world of Bria is, if we would take one of the branches of literature, one of the branches of books, let's say, psychology, or mathematics, whatever you prefer, and we subdivide it again into, let's say, mathematics. There's going to be algebra, and there's going to be trigonometry, and there's going to be statistics, and there's going to be whatever, right? All kinds of other things. So those would be subcategories. Now, things are much more divided up. They're still only in a form, in a sense, potential being, but they're divided up in a much more specific way. That's much more specific. So if I want to understand algebra, I know exactly what part to go to to find out more about algebra. So now I go down another level, to the level of Ruach corresponding to the world of Yetzirah. And now I have actual formation. Yetzirah means formation. It's the world of formation, of form. Now in that, I have actually, in algebra, I actually have other subcategories within mathematics, within algebra, of applied, let's call it, I don't know, I'm not a mathematician, so I don't, let's call it applied, let's say trigonometry or something, applied trigonometry. I have theoretical, and so on and so forth. It will be divided up further. Anyone? Yes, Andrea, sorry, I didn't see your comment. Yes, he gives a spark of himself without diminishing. Exactly, right. So Ruach and Yetzirah are further subdivided until we come down to the level of Asiya and Nefesh, where here we're talking about individual books. This individual book on applied algebra or applied trigonometry was written by such and such a person and covers this specific field. It's for third year mathematics in university and so on and so forth, and that's what it's for, and it's very, very specific as to what it is. Okay? So, all of the worlds, therefore, and the levels of consciousness parallel each other. Levels of consciousness or levels of soul are conscious of, the soul is conscious of what is going on in that particular world. Now we can divide this even further according to what the Zohar says. The Zohar explains that the Sefirot, the 10 Sefirot, let me just get a picture up here on the screen of the Sefirot. Can everybody see the picture? Let me reduce it a little bit so you'll be able to see the whole thing. Yeah, okay, everyone can see the picture? Yeah. Make it a bit bigger. Okay, let's see here. All right, there you go. So, all of the 10 Sefirot, says the Zohar, each Sefirah or group of Sefirot, cluster of Sefirot, rests or is manifested primarily in one of the worlds. Now, easy enough to understand. Keter, the highest level of the Sefirot, Keter, that is manifested in the world of Adam Kadmon. In other words, all of the Sefirot are in all of the worlds, only which is dominant. The concept of Keter is dominant in the world of Ak. In fact, the world of Ak is called a world of Kesers. It's a world of crowns. It's the crown of crowns. Okay? That's what it is. That's the world of Adam Kadmon. Chochma, on the right column, Chochma, Mekanana ba'atzilut, that rests in, it makes its nest, so to speak, in Atzilut. Not that you don't have the other Sefirot in Atzilut, you do. You have all of the Sefirot in the world of Atzilut, but the Sefirah of Chochmah is the dominant Sefirah in that particular world. In the world of Bria, the dominant Sefirah is Bina. In the world of Yetzirah, the 6 Sefirot from Chesed to Yesod, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, those 6, which are called together Ze'er, Anpin, those are manifested in the world of Yetzirah. They are dominant in the world of Yetzirah. And Malchut is what is dominant in the world of Asiya, in the lowest world. Now these also are paralleled by the powers of the soul. The 10 Sefirot are also the 10 powers of the soul. And you can see in the little box over here, we have the meaning of the power of the Sefirah in terms of the power of the soul. So Keter corresponds essentially to faith, the light will. which are overarching powers that don't have any particular locus within the human form, within the human body, right? Within the human being, essentially. So faith, delight, and will are overarching, enveloping powers that include everything that the person is. Faith isn't in your right arm or your left arm or your head or your torso or whatever. Faith is just, it's a power of soul that is not manifested in any particular place. Chokhmah is manifested primarily in the brain, and more specifically, in fact, in the right brain. Bina is left brain, logical thinking. Da'at, although we didn't speak about Da'at before, Da'at connects these two, and if we count Keter, we don't count Da'at, but Da'at corresponds to the cerebellum and the spinal cord, which goes all the way down through to the final levels. Okay, but Da'at remains a Sefirah, which is subsumed within Keter. If you count Keter, you don't count Da'at. If you count Da'at, you don't count Keter. The very important Sefirah in and of itself, but in terms of the worlds, it's not manifested per se in the world, it's manifested in the connection of all the worlds together. Okay, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod are manifested in the world of Yetzirah, in the world of Yetzirah. So again, Adam Kadmon, Keter. Chokhmah, Atzilut. Bina, Bria. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Yetzirah. Malchut, and Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, those are emotional traits that a person has. The emotions that all of us have. Again, some people have one emotion more dominant than the other. All the emotions are included, and at different times in a person's life, at perhaps even different times in a person's day, different emotions can dominate. So when you wake up in the morning, it could be that you're feeling chesed, but as soon as you see, or at least before you have your cup of coffee, maybe it's gvura. In any event, a person goes through these various changes, and the midot, the emotions, are known for their change. They keep on changing form and changing dominance right throughout the day and right throughout a person's life. When a person generally gets older, so the attribute of chesed, of kindness, generally starts to dominate. At least it should do. That's in most people. Not necessarily, of course. And finally, so those are the emotional qualities. Finally, we get to Malchut, and Malchut corresponds to, in the human being, corresponds to the power of speech and the power of action. Speech and action, that's Malchut, and that's the world of Asiyah. Speech and action. Also, as part of Malchut, are the senses, although the senses also correspond to higher levels as well, but the actual locus of the senses depends on the physical body. So primarily Malchut is associated with the physical body and with the organs and the organs of sense. Although in Kabbalah we speak about the 12 senses in Kabbalah. I think there's I did a class on that once. You could probably find it in the archives. Nevertheless, Malchut is associated with the body and with the organs of sense. In other words, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and so on. The sense of touch as well with the fingers. That's what Malchut is associated with. Now, to get back to our previous page. Everyone sees it, I hope? Yeah, good. Okay, so now each of these levels of soul has a mode of operation, right? A mode of operation. So we said before that as far as Yechida is concerned, its mode of operation is that it is. It doesn't have a mode of operation as such that there's things that you have to do, excluding the concept of self-sacrifice, which is not something that we necessarily seek out or that we advocate as a type of service, of divine service. So let's leave out for the time being this concept of Yechida, the highest level of soul. And now let's go, because that again is a result of everything else that you do. A person might come to the revelation of Yechida, but it depends on everything else that comes below. So the mode of operation of Chokhmah is cleaving, dveikut. Now, what does cleaving mean? Cleaving means that a person starts to lose his or her sense of self and cleaves to the divine. The Sefer Yetzirah speaks about it as a flame is bound to a coal. The coal, the inner part of the coal, the fire in a burning coal, is manifested as a flame which cleaves to the coal. It becomes revealed as a flame which cleaves to the coal. So therefore, in the world of emanation, in the world of Atzilut, to be capitalized, the world of emanation, the modus operandi of that is to come to dveikut, cleaving. Now, I'll speak about actually how we get there in a minute. On a lower level, when we get to the level of the Neshama, in the world of Bria, here we're talking about meditation and comprehension. Now, cleaving is a result of meditation, and I'm going to explain that. I'm explaining now from above to below. Afterwards, I'm going to reverse it and explain from below to above. Okay, so Neshama is again the faculty which leads to Neshama, the faculty which Neshama motivates or activates is meditation and comprehension. Now, meditation in Kabbalistic terminology is not necessarily the same as meditation in a modern context. Meditation usually it has Buddhist connotations and so on and so forth. Meditation in Kabbalistic terminology generally means that one focuses on certain ideas or certain holy names. Kabbalistic meditation more using holy names, and Hasidic meditation is more conceptually based. But it's the idea of conceptualizing and meditating on certain concepts. On a level down, we're talking about emotional awakening, the awakening of the person's emotions, and the focus in the world of Yetzirah and the focus of Ruach is on emotional awakening, emotional waking up positive, godly emotions, and quieting non-productive or mundane emotions, reactive emotions. Finally, we get to the world of Nefesh, the world of Asiya, where the modus operandi is acknowledgement and acceptance. Someone asked if I could please send this page to everybody. Yes, I can send the page to everybody. That would be fine. I'll do that. Okay, knowledge and acceptance, which is Malchut. Now comes the important part. When I say now comes the important part, what I mean is I want to go through the process of meditation, which is the process of what's called Aliyat HaNeshamot, or Aliyat HaNeshama, the ascent of the soul through its various levels, from Nefesh to Ruach, from Ruach to Neshama, from Neshama to Chaya, and from Chaya eventually merges into Yechida, through certain processes which I'm going to explain now. This is the process essentially of meditation, or at least it's one of the modes, one of the methods of meditation. that is spoken about in Kabbalistic literature, and it begins as follows. The chart of the Sefirot is available in the video. The chart of the Sefirot is available in the Dropbox link. If you go to the website, KabbalahDecoded.com, KabbalahDecoded.com, just go to the videos tab, and you just fill in your information. It doesn't cost anything, just and I don't use your email address for anything. It's just that's the way it works. To get into, as soon as you put in your information, it'll open a Dropbox link. You go to Dropbox, and you'll see there are charts of the Sefirot available. I think it said Sefirot or Sefirot chart or something like that. Just have a look. Available for everybody, free. Okay, so the process of meditation in Kabbalistic literature and Hasidic literature is therefore to start from the bottom up. If we come down, there's an expression like this, which is found in rabbinic literature and is repeated in the Tanya. It says that a person goes from Igra Rama to Bira Amikta, from a very high tower to the bottom of a pit. The very high tower represents the highest levels of the soul. To the bottom of a pit, that's us in this world. But the process is not, the purpose is not to stay in the bottom of the pit. The purpose is to climb out of the pit. You climb out of the pit via the ladder of the soul, the ladder of the various levels of consciousness. So you have to start where you are, which is generally, we start at the bottom. Now, you start at the bottom every day, because tomorrow's bottom level is hopefully continues from today's highest level. Hopefully it works like that. But anyway, this is the way we start the process of meditation. The first thing that we do is we start withdrawing from the sensory world around us, the world that our senses are impacted by, and the world that our senses interface with. Now, there's no necessary order in which it goes. You just can do whichever is easiest for you, but I find that it's easiest to, first of all, just focus on the most simple of the senses, the sense of touch. You're sitting in your chair, or wherever it is that you're doing your meditative practice. You're sitting, sit comfortably. You don't have to sit with your legs folded in a lotus position or anything. Just sit comfortably in a chair or on the floor, wherever it is that you are. And just take a moment to notice how you feel the chair impacting your body, or the floor impacting you. Feel yourself. You feel your. Make sure that you're comfortable as you can be, and then once you notice that you're sort of feeling your body, just start to withdraw from that feeling. How do you withdraw from the feeling? Just notice it without making any judgments about it at all. No judgments and no explanations, commentary, without commentary. Just noticing without commentary. Do the same thing now with a sense of taste. It's preferable before you start meditation to make sure that you don't have a bad taste in your mouth or whatever, just rinse your mouth out or whatever, mouthwash, whatever it may happen to be. But withdraw from the sense of taste. Notice it. Don't comment on it. It is what it is. And start to withdraw from it. Now we go to the sense of smell. There's smells around you in the room, and so on and so forth. You notice them. No comments on them. They are what they are. No judgments about them. And then withdraw from the sense of smell by now moving up to the sense of hearing. You can hear noises going on around in the room, perhaps from your computer, from maybe the lights, from machines, and so on and so forth, and moving outwards into the world outside. There's lots and lots of things going on in the world, and now just withdraw from them in the sense that they are what they are. I'm not going to interact with them. I'm not interacting. And now we do the same thing with seeing. The first thing to do is close your eyes, right? You close your eyes, and now you try and close off your imagining, which is much harder than it sounds. You stop thinking of images, and even if images flit through your mind, don't engage with them. Just let them go and don't engage with them at all. They might flit through your mind. It's not going to bother you. Just you let them go. They continue. It's nothing to worry about. We acknowledge each sense as we go through it, and we accept the reality of what it is. But I'm not engaging with it now. I'm not causing it to function. I'm just withdrawing from it. Let it be what it is. There may be sounds, there may be sights, there may be images floating across my mind. I'm not going to engage with them at all. That's the first withdrawal. That's the withdrawal of nefesh. It's withdrawal from the world of asiya, from the world of action. I'm sitting quietly, I'm sitting calmly, and noticing the world, and then disengaging from the world around me. The next step is the level of ruach. So first of all, we identify the emotions which are impinging on me at the moment. The emotions, I might feel do I feel a sense of joy? Do I feel a sense of sadness? Do I feel a sense of love? Do I feel a sense of anger, frustration, whatever it may happen to be, without engaging oneself in any of these things, acknowledging them, whatever those emotions may happen to be, acknowledging that they're there, and accepting them for what they are, and just letting them all go for now. The next stage, still in the second stage, still in the stage of ruach, is to focus on one positive emotion, to awaken one positive emotion. For example, emotion of love. So we ask ourselves, what does love feel like? How does it feel? How do I feel when I'm in a loving state? It might help for this particular emotion to remember a time when you felt love. On an occasion, could be in the past, could be recent past, long ago, when you felt tremendous love for something or for somebody. What did that feel like? How did that feel, so to speak, in my heart? And try and engender that warmth again, and feel it, and then direct it towards that feeling of love, direct towards God, towards one's fellow man. Perhaps both at the same time, perhaps one at a time, to our fellow human beings first, and then to God, or vice versa, and feel that emotional arousal and that sense of peace and that sense of comfort. Now, I'm going through this obviously very quickly, and it does take time, but that sense of love. And one can go through all the emotions, the positive side of the emotions as well, on different occasions. It's usually better to focus on one emotion per meditation, but one can cycle through all the emotions if one wants. It's not so advisable. It's better one at a time, but all of the emotions, on different occasions can be aroused as necessary, or you can just focus on one of them every time. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to focus on all the emotions. It's not like exercise where you need to exercise all parts of your body. It's just a case of whatever emotion you want to improve, to manifest more. It's an emotion of love. For a person who's very weak-willed or downtrodden or whatever it is, maybe you want to focus on the emotion of gvura, or gvura being the idea that is associated with strength and with the idea of the ability to overcome, and so on. You can see on the charts, you'll see what the various emotions are. That's all. The emotional level is all the level of Yetzirah. Now we go up to the level of Neshama and Bria. Now for this, a person needs some learning. He needs some concept on which to contemplate. The Hasidic method of doing this is to take a statement, whether it's a paragraph or whether it's a whole discourse, and to go through the discourse in one's mind, trying to understand it deeply as possible, with all its ramifications, with all its implications. It's essentially a meditation on what's called Mamale Kol Almin, the divine energy that fills the worlds, that's manifested in the various worlds, the various planes of reality. That corresponds to Neshama and the level of Bria. And then finally, the world of Atzilut is, and the level of Chaya is achieved through a process which is known as Hafshata. Hafshata means stripping away the external trappings of an idea, the externality of an idea, to get to the ayin, to get to the nothingness behind it, to get to the non-manifested aspect of the idea. Now, this is a complex idea and really deserves, the whole concept of Hafshata requires its own lesson. How we go about it, but again, it's taking the same ideas and getting to the essence of the idea, the ayin behind the yesh, the nothingness behind the somethingness. In other words, the undivided essence which is behind the conceptual manifestation. And that would be the level of soul which is called Chaya. And then eventually, one is given as a gift the manifestation of Yechida. It's not something which you can necessarily work towards unless divine providence leads you to circumstances where that can be revealed. But it's generally known as a gift, the complete feeling of unity and total self-nullification. And that's what it's all about. Now, again, the process of meditation it's a process, and it's something that has to be done on a regular basis. Hafshata, it's Hafshata, Hafshata. Yeah, Hafshata meaning stripping away. You strip away the outer levels and the outer levels and the outer levels until you get to the inner core of what it is, or the inner core of the idea. Okay, folks, I would like to point out that we're going to be having, on the 25th of May, we're going to be having a Lag BaOmer bash. Lag BaOmer is the festival celebrating the passing of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And we're going to be having, it's the same time as our usual Wednesday class, but it's going to be on a much bigger scale. I'm going to have a class of, the room will be open to up to 500 people, so get in early. We might have a virtual bonfire, yes, but we're also going to have a couple of extra speakers. So far, it'll be myself and Mrs. Shimona Tzukernik, or Tzukernik, however you know her, who's a phenomenal speaker. She's a lady who has studied Kabbalah deeply and understands a lot of Kabbalistic concepts as they relate to psychology and so on and so forth, and coaching. Both her and I do private coaching, and I'm hoping for at least another one, if not another two speakers, and then we'll have a panel, a question and answer panel afterwards. So this is going to be like a 2.5 hour or 2.5 hour bonanza. And entry to the room at this point in time will be free. I hope to be able to keep it free, but we could certainly use some donations if anyone wants to help with sponsoring and actually getting this. Obviously there's expenses involved in getting the room and getting advertising and so on and so forth, and I want to open it up to as many people as possible. So it would be a very useful thing if we can get some donations to help towards that. Much appreciated. You could then donate it through Kabbalah Decoded or through my email, which I'll just use PayPal. Let me just at gmail.com. Here it is, ravm.icja@gmail.com. RAVM, M for Moshe, .icja@gmail.com, via PayPal. If there's any other way you want to do it, you could let me know or whatever. Much appreciated.